Okay, hello, my name is Colin Blankenship, and we're going to build the Gladius. This is an actual sword that I use in my, let's go back to, it's a gladiator sword. We're going to use, I think this one as a reference. And what I want to do is just go through the basic steps of bringing in this image, which I'll go ahead and just download now. The easiest thing, actually, we can right click and save image as. Put it into the right folder. I'm going to put it in assets for right now. This will work. Alright, so I got that saved. And what we want to do is bring it into 3ds Max so that we can use it as our measuring tool to make sure that we have the right scale, or the right proportions. Since this is a sword that we're just kind of learning how to use 3ds Max, I'm not going to worry about too much about the scale, but more about the proportions of the actual image itself. So we'll go ahead and open that folder up. Typically when I'm working in 3ds Max, I like to have an actual Explorer window open, which will allow me to kind of, even if I'm working in Photoshop or some other tool, I want to have an Explorer window open to where I'm going to pull things from. This just allows me to kind of move a little faster. So we'll go into where assets. I have the wrong folder. Sorry, we'll take that. We'll use that for right now. So I have it here. So there's a couple ways we can make things happen in terms of bringing an image in here. The safest, cleanest, long-winded way is to open up the material editor, which we will really get into later, but this is a good intro. My computer's running a little slow because of all the things I've got going on. So this is a material slate editor. What we want to do here is a node-based system, and what we want to do is just go ahead and we can drag this one image at a time into here, and it'll create a bitmap image node. Double click on the thumbnail. So it's distorted, and that's because it's in a square aspect ratio, and that's not going to be a big deal when we actually put it on our object. We'll get around that real quick. We're going to drag from the output node to, what I'm going to do is just drag from this output node and I'll release. So I click, drag, and it'll give me this pop-up. I'm going to go to Materials, General, actually Scanline, Standard, and we're going to put it into the diffuse color. Alright, so here's that. So we have it set up. I'm going to double click on the flag of this material. It'll give me the material options. What we want to make sure is that it actually will show in the viewport, so we're going to turn that on. That'll activate that little banner right there, that little slash. That'll tell us that it actually is viewable in the actual viewport. This is the actual parameters that we're going to be playing around with. We won't have to do a whole lot more than this, but I'm going to go ahead and minimize this right now. And now we're going to build the actual reference plane. Since this is a sword, I want to go ahead and go from the, I'm going to build from the bottom up, as if we're going from the pommel to the handle to the guard to the blade, from 000 going straight up in the perspective view. So we're going to build our reference plane in the front view. So I'm just going to click and drag, and it's more or less centered. It's not quite there, but we'll go ahead and align that here in a second. Now that I got created, I'm going to go to the modify panel, and I'm going to hit Z on my keyboard. Now, I don't have the exact size yet, but I'm going to leave everything as is at the moment, except for I'm going to change the segments to 1. I don't need any other polygons in here. Hit F4 to turn on the wireframe so we can see it. Now I'm going to go back to my material editor, and I have the material selected. You can see that by the dotted line. I'm going to bald box, assign material to selection. And there that is. And we're seeing the proportions still not accurate, and that's because I just kind of built the planar object willy-nilly. Didn't really put too much of a focus on it. The reason why I just want to kind of get it set up and show you how we can adjust things post-haste. So what I'm going to do is in my modify panel, so scroll down, and I want to go to what's called the UV map. This right here, UVW map. I'm going to throw that on there. This modifier basically allows us to tell the software where we're putting the image on the actual geometry. So what I'm going to do is, not going into sub-object mode, I don't have to do that. I'm going to scroll up to where I say bitmap fit, and I'll click on this, and I'll immediately pull up this window. We just got to figure out, we're going to go back to our project, wherever we have that image, I'm going to click on this. And what it's going to do is going to snap the proportions of the mapping system, the gizmo, to the actual proportions of to the image. So now what I can do is go back into the plane. I'm going to leave the test tube on so it shows the end result. And I'm just going to change the width to make it fit to what I need. And there's our reference plane. Let's go up here to where it says plane 001 and rename it. I'm going to call this REF for reference _ Gladius. That way I know that whenever I'm looking for my object, it'll pop up as ref first, so I know exactly what it is in my scene. We gotta do one more thing. I want to freeze it to where whenever I do some kind of random selection, I don't actually move it or rotate it or scale it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on the object. I'm going to go to object properties. And what I want to do in this setup right here, I want to actually turn off this show frozen in gray. Click on that and hit OK. That right click options, object options, properties right here has a lot of awesome useful information. You won't need a lot of it yet, but know that it's there so you can find it. The other place you can actually turn that show frozen in gray button is in the movie screen. If it's actually what's called the display tab, you can just turn that off right here. So we're going to leave that off, and then I can go ahead right click again, and we'll go ahead and say freeze selection. And now it's grayed out and I cannot select it. So that means and it'll show the visibility. Now if I'm going to go back a little bit, let's go ahead and undo some things real quick. And let's go ahead and parameter change. Let's do that and undo. And so we'll go back into here and we'll fix our width. And so it's I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this tab. I don't have this. It's different software. All right, go back into the display, and so it shows frozen in gray. So now I'm gonna say show frozen in gray. So let's go ahead and freeze this real quick and show what we're after. So now you can't see the image. So hit Control Z, turn off show frozen in gray, and then you can freeze it. All right, and this means our scene is ready to go. Next video, we'll start modeling.